What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Engineer Different podcast. I'm your host, Mamadou Ba, and today we are joined by Sebastian Veillard. After smashing and graduating high school class with a 4.0 GPA and receiving the Delta Sigma Theta Scholarship, he is currently studying mechanical engineering at the New Jersey Institute of Technology. In today's episode, we will dive into some incredible lessons, insights, experiences he has learned after completing his first year at one of the nation's most rigorous engineering programs. He's also shared some incredible takeaways that can help you. Unfortunately, after recording, I noticed that my audio was very, very quiet. This episode was so great, I did not want to throw it away just because of some simple audio issues. So I applied some fixes afterwards to remedy the issue, but I apologize in advance for any issues in the volume, sound, etc. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and let's go.
So Seb, there's so much different engineering disciplines that you have out there, right? You have chemical, electrical, aerospace, industrial. The list obviously goes on forever. But what made you incline towards mechanical engineering? What was that? Why was that choice for you?
I think actually growing up, like in high school, I wanted to do a completely different major. I wanted to do nursing. But then I think that switch came when I actually came here to Hackensack. I moved from West Orange to Hackensack like 3 years ago. I started going to more like engineering classes to see my interests, see what I could do in the future. And I really enjoy just the design. I really like designing, portraits of buildings, of concepts. And that was kind of tied into the whole mechanical engineering aspect. And the fact that it kind of, you know, encaps the overall, stuff of engineering, aerospace and civil, chemical, all types of engineering. And I know that in this world, there's not as much demand to tech engineers. It's kind of more towards like computer science nowadays. So I think in this society, they need more mechanical engineers. I think growing up, I had that now big interest into it. And now with my strengths in math and science, I can use that to contribute to that. And hopefully in the future that can grow. I do want that to grow into next year. And I think that interest just came up in my mind as soon as I hit Hackettstown, and now I'm really committed to it. I really like it. I think it's a big passion that I was missing. I do want to contribute it more to sophomore, junior, and senior.
So that's definitely a big switch, going from, say, starting out with nursing, right? Being interested in nursing.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic field. I know many nurses. My mom's a nurse. I think your mom's a nurse too. Am I right?
Yeah, she does radiology,
Yeah,
X-ray. Yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a big switch going from, from an interest in nursing to interest in engineering instead, especially in mechanical engineering, right? And
Yeah.
obviously, that passion has led you to the New Jersey Institute of Technology. Well, for simplicity's sake, we're going to be saying NJIT throughout the episode. So NJIT equals New Jersey Institute of Technology for those listening that don't know what NJIT stands for, right? So you're currently a mechanical engineering student at NJIT. Walk us through a day in the life. What goes through a day inside of a mechanical engineering major at NJIT?
It's wake up, you do your classes, and then for me, I just pretty much I've just been in the library, for most of the day because there's so much work I have piled upon. I have to take a lot of courses for this engineering course. I have to take chemistry, physics, and calculus. And then even last semester before in fall 24, I had to take, CS classes, engineering classes. So it's a lot of work just stacked top on top, going through, study groups and just putting in a lot of work. And, it's not, when there's a lot of work stacked upon you, it's not much, free time you can do, I usually, play basketball sometimes in the evening. Even then, I can't do that sometimes because there's a lot of work that's required in these classes, It's not an easy degree, A lot of people say, it's not easy. And I took that into account. I wanted to challenge. I'm very ambitious. And I wanted to that challenge of just being able to have something I can just do in the daily, not something that can be too easy. And I set a challenge, stay in the library when I could. Always ask people for help. And study groups were also a big help as well.
So speaking on challenges, right? Especially a lot of courses that you have to take within mechanical engineering discipline. You know, your physics, your calculus, and all computer science, as you mentioned as well. What would you say of all the classes you took so far? What was the most challenging class?
Most challenging. I know some people say it's easy, but I think calculus for me. I think I tried a lot in that class to understand it, and I have understood it, but it's not to like a fully maximum level. I do want to improve that. Going to calculus three, just going over the calculus ones, calculus twos, because going to that class it was pretty hard. Having these weekly quizzes, all these math questions and stuff, and even kind of like physics can be challenging at times because you learn these new concepts, these formula sheets. So I think every class wasn't as bad, because I was kind of rocked through it. But I definitely think calculus and even chemistry, because chemistry too as a whole is not just like about the math. I'm a big math person. I'm not really as strong as concepts. So even chemistry one and chemistry two, you really dig in deep into the concepts. That's something that I haven't been the best at, and they've really challenged me to get improved in that concept side. So it definitely put my mind in to really dig deeper into the whys behind these classes and the whys behind they teach these stuff, and that's what I want to bring into definitely more into my second year on campus.
So the why is definitely very important, right? And I'm glad that you brought that up. Kind of, it's one thing showing up to a class to just kind of show up to class versus understanding the purpose of why you're actually there in that class for the first place, right? And now I wanted to circle a bit back on calculus, right? Because you did mention calculus was one of the most difficult courses. And even as someone who took calculus as well, I had to take calculus 2. Oh, cybersecurity, unfortunately, you only have to take up to calculus 2. We don't have to do anything after that,
Yeah,
right? But
so lucky you.
yeah, but it's a different monster, discrete math. But that's I digress. That's for another episode, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, you have to take up to calculus 2. You have calculus 3, which is, I believe, multivariate, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Right.
see something like that, and then it gets to differential equations and algebra.
Exactly. So calculus is definitely is very difficult, especially at NJIT too. I mean
Yeah, I know.
NJIT was one of the options that I was looking at when choosing the schools, and one of the things that I did note during my search is that the math at NJIT is very, very, very difficult. Right? Obviously,
Yep.
I'm not too sure how I'm not too confident or too sure how true this actually is, but I've had heard that they just take the MIT math curriculum, bring it over there, Control C, Control V, and just put NJIT on the name instead. That's I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know how
that
true that
that
is, but but I
you know
mean,
that I don't remember might just be very true because the math they do there is something else. Like I can go to like probably any other college and it won't be as half as bad as
I
NJIT
agree with
because
that. 100% agree with that.
they really put us on our heels to really and I'm not mad at the whole MIT thing. I'll take the hardest calculus I can get because if I can do good at that, then what other calculus I can do at, I say, like a community college or whatever. Say someone's at another college doing it, it'll be easier for me to get into that and help them out.
Exactly. So that leads me to ask, right? When you're in calculus, especially in such a high level, very rigorous level of calculus, how do you push through it? How do you get through it? What are some tricks? Because obviously you just can't show up blindsided, just show up and just
Yeah,
sit down there and get it done. Obviously, that's not going to turn out as well in that kind of situation. I'm sure there's more to it. So what's that work you have to put in? What's say tips for somebody that, say, I'm coming into calculus, right, and I'm having lots of trouble with calculus or just math in general, right? What are your tips for someone to getting over that essential fear and that challenges?
I say definitely peers. Like one of my friends, he knows someone else that's been through all the calculus 1, 2, 3. And he has a whole notebook of like all the formulas, all the equations, what to do, what not to do. He has like a whole notebook. I think it's probably like could be like 30 more pages. So peer is definitely a big one. I say YouTube videos. That's something that I really try to do. I was in the library when I was stuck. I mean, you don't have people to go to. Stuff like Chemistry Shooter. More, I can't think of mine right now, but a lot of more YouTubers that go through this kind of calculus that really dig into the explanations of the whys behind it, how it connects to real life engineering, and of course, your professor, he knows everything, he knows what to do. It's definitely one person that it's probably the best option, but if he's not there, I said definitely peers and videos to watch on YouTube.
So yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned, working with peers, right? Because sometimes, like as they say, two heads is better than one, right? Two heads is
Yeah,
definitely better than
definitely.
one, especially when you can reach out and seek after someone that has already gone through the experience already. It makes it much more easier, right? It makes it much more
Sure,
easier
sure.
to deal with. They can kind of point you in the right direction. They can point you, maybe this resource is good, this resource is bad, this exam is good, this exam is bad, right? So
Yeah, I,
yeah, you were saying.
I think that's yeah. I think that's the difference. Like in this college, you're gonna need a lot of help. You're not gonna just be able to do things on your own. I think, and even find those peers and connecting them, especially if they do a lot of projects outside of this, or a lot of stuff about them clubs. You can connect with them and not just be able to learn stuff from that class, but just in real life. Finding other future jobs that you could best go to, future um, internships that you could join, from, just learning that person, could change your whole aspect of the college.
So say you get these challenges, right, within calculus, right, or within just math in general, and you're seeing it for the first time, and you're thinking like to yourself, like, this is impossible, right? Or
Yeah.
I don't like using that word, but I'm gonna use it for this
Yeah.
situation, right? This is impossible. I can't do this, right? What are your tips? How do you conquer that initial block in your head that I can't do this? There's no way I can do this to actually end up being able to do it.
It's gonna be tough to get through at first, but I was definitely one of those people that was like I was like startled at like the work that I received, but again I think peers is one thing to definitely walk you through everything, walk you through the course, and I think once you understand that, I think you have to just be willing to just understand the basics of it first. If you don't understand the basics of calculus two, maybe you go back to calculus one. You learn the basics and the introduction to it, kind of, because maybe calculus two may not be too advanced here at first. You need to learn what started first. A lot of people they fail in calculus three, calculus two, because that same knowledge that they got from calculus one, which is like the downside of everything that starts, the advanced courses. You're not as trained in that. That's something that I, struggle with. So I think once you get down to the lower classes, like the where you started from, you gain strength in that. You know what to do 100%. It's gonna get to calculus two, calculus three, and then DFQ, and then so far and so forth.
So it's all about fundamentals, basically.
So definitely. That's definitely for sure.
Yeah, the same thing. They say in sports, get your fundamentals down, right? Let's get your triple threat
Yep.
first. That's
Yep.
in basketball. In soccer,
Yep.
hit the ball against the wall, knock it against the wall, get your fundamentals down. Fundamentals.
They call him Duncan, man, the big fundamental, man.
Exactly.
And dude, nothing crazy. Just do your job, get to the basket, man.
Exactly. And I think
That's all it's about, man.
the same thing can be applied to school as well. That's why I want to write a book on that one day. Just how much sports can really influence your performance within an academic standpoint. Because there's
I think it definitely can.
so much
Yeah.
lessons, right? And actually, that segues nicely, right? Because you play basketball, right? You're a big basketball.
Yeah.
You're a Warriors fan. You love basketball. You love
Yep.
the sport. You've played before. So, what do you say? What would you say are your biggest takeaways, say, from playing basketball that has helped you so far, say, throughout New Jersey Institute of Technology experience?
I think just like a mental space. This college gets hard a lot.
Oh.
Sometimes, and you kind of just need that mental break. You kind of need that space to just have fun and chill, and just chill around your friends. I think basketball is a good thing at that, and not just in not as mental space from basketball, from all parts of life. If you're going through hard times, you're going through some hard losses. You just pick up a ball, you're not very passionate in it. You just put some shots up, no matter what it is. You kind of be essentially free, free from all distractions. It's just you and just you in the basket. And I think that's a very good mindset to keep. Even stuff like working out is a good thing to mentally keep it in a space away. Reading books, and basketball is kind of my way of just being free from all the chaos that just goes on in all these classes. And it's really a fun way, especially when you play with your friends and you play high fives, 4v4s. You get better at the game as well. You build confidence in that game, and then you can take that confidence to your studies, especially when you feel good after let's say you play in a game, you go 21, you score like damn near like all the points, you're going crazy.
Going crazy.
You're gonna yep, you're gonna feel good, and that's gonna, I think, contribute to your studies, because you feel good, you're in a good headspace, you're free from all the stress that you gain from all these classes, and that's gonna help you a lot for sure. When you go into those studies, when you go for these exams, you have a good headspace, and you won't think of anything too much, because your mind is actually just free of everything, and you can just go in and just lock in and focus.
Sebastian, so you talked quite a bit, about the challenges, for example, how the challenges within your classes and how you can use, say, sports as well, talk about basketball to propel you through any challenges that you're going through, right? And I think you laid out a very, very solid plan, right? A very solid strategy that can, like, anyone that's listening to this right now, that they can definitely take away and they can apply this to their own life, and hopefully it will allow them to do well as well, right? So you obviously have that plan there, right? So now you have to ask, right? What is your goal, right? Because obviously, if you keep up what you're doing right now, you keep the consistency going, you're obviously gonna go places, right? You're gonna go places. You're gonna go very, very far. So what is that place for you? Where do you want to end up in, say, mechanical engineering?
The big companies, man. I think that's the end goal. That's I want to go big. I've always been a sky high guy. I know it takes a lot of work. It's going to require a master's degree. It's going to require maybe even a doctorate. But I really want to be in those big companies. Like, I want to be in NASA, Google, Apple. I don't want to be someone that settles for low. That's something you don't want to be in life.
Right.
In basketball, I can never be that guy that I wanted to. So I want to take those ambitions that I used to have in basketball and just take it to mechanical engineering, because I know anything that you can put in, as long as you put in the work, you can and will succeed. It just takes time. Even go through mistakes, you go through failures, you're going to make it. And that's something that I want to keep in college, through the connecting with others and just learning the struggles and obstacles you have to go through, and take it big is my dream. If I Google and Apple and NASA, that's where I want to be. I'll be happy with that, for the rest of my life. Just knowing that I made it, this high in life. I didn't settle for anything less.
Right, settling is big, man. It's
Yep, for sure.
So big,
because
especially when things get tough, right? When things get very difficult, things get very tough. When things get tough, you don't want to go push that extra mile, right? Because you're already struggling enough in your current situation already. Just to get what's going on at the moment done already, right?
Yeah.
You're not thinking about you're not thinking about the sky. You're not thinking about the next leap, the next mile. You're just trying to get done what you got going on right now, and hopefully make it to the next stage, which leads us to start settling for less, right? Say you are let's take an example, right? Say you are, I don't know, a pre-med student, right?
Yeah.
And you're working through pre-med. You're really hoping to to become a doctor, right? You want to go to medical school and become a doctor, right? But it's so difficult. It's very tough. It's not easy. It's a very difficult and rigorous program, right? You end up going for something else, right? Because at the end you're thinking like, oh man, I can't reach this doctor stage. I'm struggling right now. I'm going to settle for something else, right? And that settling leads to complacency, right? Just being okay with where we're at. But obviously, if you want to do well and go big, if you are okay with where you at, it leads to complacency. Actually, I was reading one of my favorite books, Leading by Sir Alex Ferguson. It's a fantastic book. I recommend anyone to read it. Probably link it down in the description as well. It's a great book. Okay. And he's talking about Sir Alex Ferguson. For quick context, he was one of the greatest managers for soccer of all time. Right. He was a manager for Man United from around like early 90s to 2012, 13, if I'm remembering correctly. But he's one of the best managers of all time, easily the greatest Man United manager of all time for all managers, one of the best, right?
Wow.
And he has a fantastic book, Leading. I mentioned it earlier. And one of the chapters, actually, I finished reading this chapter last night. He was talking about complacency, right? Man United has won, I believe, 13 Premier League trophies, if I'm remembering the statistic correctly. 13 Premier League trophies. That's the most of all Premier League teams of all time. And that's success. That's domination. That's
huge, bro.
That is huge. And he mentioned the only reason he actually reached that point is because of the lack of complacency, because of avoiding complacency. Anytime he would win, as soon as the season would end, right? They win the title, they get the trophy, right? As soon as that ended, he's already thinking about the next season already. How can I get away from this season going on? You see, avoiding proactivity.
Always want to improve. Go back on it.
And that's what makes you not settle first. That's what makes you not settle, right? Because if you are complacent, you're gonna settle for where you're at. You're happy when you get to one place. You're not gonna have that urge to push on to do that next step, that next drive, right? So complacency can be a killer, and removing complacency from your mindset can really propel you forward. So you did mention that you're interested in these big companies, right? In these Apple, Microsoft, Google, Lockheed, right? Big companies, right? So with these companies, what are you interested in doing? How do you plan on applying what you're learning and doing right now in your mechanical engineering degree within those companies?
I would say like I'm definitely growing in like the design aspect of it. So if I can bring those skills, along with mechanics to those companies, I think I can be, reputable person for them. And, obviously it's going to take a lot more work than just, being the first year, obviously, kind of fluid products and stuff. But I think as long as I put in the work and know what they want from me, I can't just do, anything and just be like, oh, they're going to, whatever I do, they're gonna be compatible with. But obviously, if I know what kind of jobs they have, what kind of jobs they're available to that apply to me, I'll work well in those areas to make sure that I'm the best prospect they have. It's gonna be able to select me for it because, again, that's what it's all about. They choose you because they think you'll be the right person to do this task because you are really, really good and solid and all those skills and tasks you can do. So I want to be that person to that company, and it's gonna be a lot. But I think with just the mindset of just being, that it's gonna be tough, but as long as you think that you are the best and that you think you're capable of this, that's gonna work. And I think I'm gonna take that mindset on my whole college career, and hopefully I can bring me to where I want to be.
That's fantastic. And you did mention design, right? That caught my attention, right? And it kind of goes to show that mechanical engineering can really be a multifaceted field, right? I think a lot of people, when they think of mechanical engineering, they're thinking about just like hard hats and all this kind of, like mechanical. From at least what I've understood and from what I've heard from people, that's kind of the gist of what's going on, right? Obviously very superficial. Obviously I should do more research and more homework about go out mechanical engineering.
For sure.
But you did mention design, right? So obviously it shows that it can be multifaceted. You don't always have to be doing the technical hard stuff. You can use those principles you learn from design within mechanical engineering to apply to more leadership roles, right? Or apply to more management roles, right? So what would you
Definitely,
say?
definitely.
What would you say are some things you've worked on so far? Some things that you're doing that you plan on doing, like maybe this summer, next summer, projects, right? Within mechanical engineering, that is kind of helping you understand that design process, helping you understand that process of taking ideas, putting them into action that you would cover in a mechanical engineering program.
Yeah. So I think last year, like during the fall semester, it was for a class. We had this FED model. You took like a real world like object and had to just put design on a software called Creo Parametric. It's like a design
Break
software
down a
where
bit. What break down a bit? What
yeah.
is FED model?
Um. So it's like you can kind of take any real object in real life, and then you just try. It's gonna be designed on the system. Everything. The screws. All the parts, and we had to take that. It took quite a few weeks. It was a hand truck model. We had to take a hand truck
Okay.
and try to take that and design that onto software called Creo Parametric. You can build basically anything on it, build anything digitally on it, and that's what we did. And it took weeks to get through because of parts. It's a hard time. Matching each other. It took time. You had to build. You had to get the design, all the different color lines and everything. And it's a lot of work. We also had to make our own like textbook of like all the parts and what was used for it, the background history behind it, who invented this design, and it took a lot of time, but you're able to make it work. And I definitely think that going to this year, going to this summer, definitely want to make more of those projects. So I'm able to make a whole hand truck model, and just design on Creo, that I can definitely make bigger projects as well. That's what I plan on doing. And once I get more into the mechanics classes that I'm be taking this year, um, I'll definitely take those and add those into products that I can do. And I also want to take some more courses about, just my overall degree, and not just focus on classes outside of classes in college, but also outside of college, and make sure you just increase my knowledge on the issue to make sure that I'm as much authoritative about the task, as much as I can, and to make sure that I'm just more strengthened in that topic.
So you mentioned projects, right? And I think that project with the truck model, very very interesting stuff, right? So that begs me to ask, right? Because you take a field like technology, right? Especially computer science. Right, just for a quick overlap.
Yeah.
Most people are
Yeah.
told, right? You want to get a role in this position, you want to get a job, you need to have projects. Lots of projects on your resume. Now,
Yeah.
engineering, it's a little bit different, right? You can't really just take your laptop and, well, at least with computer science or people in the technology field, they can just take my laptop, open up a code editor and then put together a quick project that I want to work on, right? So, in terms of accessibility, it's a bit easier, right? So,
Yeah.
in terms of engineering, how can someone in engineering create projects, right? How can they go ahead and find projects and ideas that they can say outside of class that they can go ahead and put on their resume when they're say looking for jobs and positions?
I'd say like when it comes to like it'd be like different things. It can be like in terms of mechanics. Building real life objects, and it could be design. Designing really big models that are taken from real life. Even real life buildings. Real life inventions that people have made. It could be a little broad. Chemical engineering, it's not just like a one-sided course, one-sided idea. It could be to other degrees that others how did I take it from other degrees. So you can make this kind of projects that are even made from automotive, even some aerospace, and then even some just even of course not even of course design as well, as being all fit together, and just making sure that you are versatile in those kind of aspects, because mechanical engineering, you can't be versatile in these type of aspects and type of topics that you can be strong at. Yeah, so just being versatile in those fields, because I feel like, a lot of, these interests, jobs want is that you're not just, good in one field. Mechanical engineering, you can be, diverse yourself into other, manufacturing and dynamics, material science, because that's what the degree is about. If you try to, diverse yourself into those fields, I think it'll be more, more accustomed to making these kind of projects that can go beyond even what you're, thinking. And these kind of jobs in the future that you want, would love that, and that can take you miles ahead that you even thought that you wouldn't even attain.
I love that. I absolutely love that you touched upon versatility, right? Because at the end of the day, people, they're looking for well-rounded individuals. These companies, these organizations, they're all looking for well-rounded individuals, right? Of course, there is a nuance and essentially a balance that you need to focus on within having one being a jack of all trades but a master of none, but then also being a one-trick pony, right? Of course, you need to make sure you are balancing both. But I agree with what you said. 100% versatility,
for sure.
It's important, because being well-rounded, essentially, it will show that, say, if one part is not necessarily to par as what they need you to be, they know that your other parts and your well-roundedness will allow you to make up for that. It'll allow you to be able to be good at the skill that they're interested in having you understand, right? So,
sure,
that's important. And that kind of brings me to understand, right? I'm curious to know that, you have your resume, you have your portfolio. What are some things that you do outside of mechanical engineering? Such as your involvements in campus, outside of campus, your hobbies. What are things that you do that kind of help you obtain that versatility, that well-roundedness?
I definitely, I'm part of this, NSBE, for Black engineers.
NSBE,
That,
that
yep, yes sir, yes sir. I definitely want to. I definitely want to be more involved in that. Coming into next semester, and being part of these, online courses that, just teach you what stuff that outside that maybe, colleges that, some classes that don't teach you, is something that I can definitely, be a part of. And some clubs that I can definitely join next year, I think will broaden my knowledge of it. Those kind of things.
What kind of clubs you're thinking about?
I would say like just more, even like I think definitely the more like robotics clubs, English clubs that are are more broad about engineering, that could strengthen my skills, and definitely go into more research. Asking professors that I eventually will meet on campus, what things that they recommend that I can get into to further increase my knowledge, bring that to internships and careers that could have in the future, and just knowing as much as I can, because I know that this college is the biggest opportunity to do so. You have to go through you have to take every opportunity you take. You can't miss out, because that one thing that you miss out could just be the life changer. That could just be deciding, seeing go big or bust. So I want to take every opportunity that I can, and know that when I leave this college, that I took all the chances that I can, and whatever the one that I found is one that will bring me to glory and success in the future.
So you did mention, right, all those clubs that you're talking about, all those opportunities, and I'm so glad you mentioned that, about not missing out on those opportunities. Take any opportunities you can get.
Yep, it's big, man. Because go on.
Because those opportunities that it seems so small are really the biggest ones if you think about it, right?
Yeah, I know.
If you think back, right, to where you are right now and where you're sitting today, and I challenge the audience and the listeners that are listening to this right now, I want you to just sit down and think back to where you are right now, right? And thinking about what got you when you're sitting right now, thinking about what got you there, right? What got you to school? What got you to the trade you're working on? What got you onto anything you're currently working on, right? What got you there? There's obviously, it's a chain, right?
Yeah.
chain keeps on going back and going back and going back and going back. And you think of those chains and those nodes at each moment. At that moment, I can assure you that there's no way someone's thinking like, "Yep, this is the biggest. This is the big thing right here." It's usually a series of micro steps, right? Lots of micro steps that we see within our path, within life, that's placed in front of us and laid right to us that we kind of subconsciously pick up on. We kind of sometimes we see it and we just go along with it because it's with the flow, right? But all those little micro steps essentially leads to where we are today. Those opportunities that you're talking about grabbing, right? And you mentioned there's so much of them, and that's especially coming from, right, we went to Hackathon High School, right? There's not much of that kind of involvements or those kind of clubs going on. Yeah, sure, we had some clubs, multicultural club, we had robotics,
small place for hate.
But there is obviously a big change I can imagine going from Hackathon to NJIT. So what would you say are some of the biggest things that you have to adapt going from Hackathon to NJIT, whether academically, socially, projects? What were some things that you had to adapt when you were transitioning into NJIT?
Definitely socially, of course, Hackathon High School, our school wasn't really the biggest, it was pretty small, not much, things to connect to, but NJIT is like 4 times, 10 times as huge, like, so much people, and then you obviously have a course when you're living on campus, you see so much from people from so many backgrounds. You even see like 40-year-olds, people, being here. You see people with kids, taking classes that you need. Like
that's one thing I wanted to mention real quick. It's amazing about college, right? Like, just kind of quick interjection, right? Intramural soccer team in the first semester that I was playing with, and these are just other guys that I kind of showed up. They're like, yeah, we got a team. Join us. How I joined them, right? And then we started our season. I think we came second in the league. Obviously, we should have came first, but that's a whole story for another day, right? But, I'm talking with these guys. I never really talked with these guys, right? I just kind of come in and play, just how the day's going, that stuff, right? Of like the 12 people that were on our team, like 7 of them were all PhD candidates.
Damn. Sheesh. Wow.
All of them are PhD candidates. So like,
what?
It's so humbling. You're just like a regular first year that's coming in. You're just coming into school. You just got out of the got out of Hackettstown, right? And you come in all the way to here to school now. And now you have 7 PhDs in front of me. Just I don't think I've met 7 PhDs my whole entire life.
That's a bunch of like academic weapons, academic unks, man. Like crazy.
It's definitely really
crazy.
But yeah, keep going as you were saying. You were talking about
and then of course academics. I was I had a 4.0 GPA. I was I would say towards the top, but I was definitely one of the people in that those high rankings. And then when you go into NJIT, you really get humbled because these classes they don't play. They do
humbling class. Would you
most humbling? Definitely calculus, because I know in back in high school, we did our thing.
Calculus Crusade.
Crusaders, I miss that group, man. I miss that was that group. That was that group, man. And then here is just, man, it's like 100 times different. Like it is like 100 times more rigorous. That's probably from the whole MIT thing, and then finding groups. How many groups, and even we struggle sometimes with the work that they show us because it's that it's that difficult. It's a crazy switch. Like it's like some guys that you think you do really well at. It just comes at you like flame, because you so fast. You got to get so used to it. You got to get so used to the work that just piled. It's very, very huge difference, man. Very huge difference.
Is it
0 then also, 100? It was something. Being that very successful student. Going on in high school, that humbling experience it's a lot. Something that even I'm still not completely 100% used to yet. And that and then going to second year. I'm gonna have to do a lot more because these classes, they bring the best out of you. They bring the absolute best. You gotta put all your hard work and time into it. You cannot lack, and that's something that back in high school, I wasn't really as reached upon on. Some classes I could, maybe slack off a little bit because they weren't as difficult as these ones here. And I think definitely with the peers that you see on campus, once I probably been through worse, been through maybe honors classes, you can learn from them. And when you all in one, all in one together, it's more success from the group, from everybody.
Yeah, it's definitely a big change. Going from back memory calculus, we wouldn't start studying for the exam until 4 o'clock.
Yep.
Of the
Yep.
They was to perfectly acing it to going to 100% at NJIT math.
Yeah. The thing is, we still do well, in high school, but now it's like you gotta work like a whole
Pretty well. Yeah, we would do pretty well.
and then now you gotta go a whole 2 weeks, ahead, for the exam for the finals, like damn near a month. It is a lot, especially I think I had like 4 or 5 exams going into my pink semester.
Wow.
I had to study a lot, man, like every day. It was, I mean, of course, every day, but just a lot of hours.
So with all that studying, how did you manage your time between taking care of yourself and actually putting in adequate time to actually prepare for these exams?
Yeah, so of course, I have my little breaks in between. Trying to distract myself because TikTok is and other social media is like really strong. You scroll a couple of times, you think you're fine, and then next hour, like and then you're on like your 500 scroll. Like it's the phone days are dangerous. I don't know. I don't know I don't know how the people in the past, were doing, but it's a lot. Times a lot different now. So it's very, very, even on your computer, if you look on YouTube, you have like bookmark on your computer. You just click on it, you see a video you like, and then you just go to the next video, next video, and next video. It's a lot of distractions. So maybe and like I've been incorporating just like staring at the wall just for 5-10 minutes. I go on my phone, that's thrown away. I'll cut anything else. Just look at my wall for a good 10 minutes. Free my mind, go back to work because that's the only way I can really do it at this point. To not get distracted. At least I know discipline. From a lot of things. I think me, being working out for so long consistently, something build that. I've always remembered to continue to work out, go to the gym every day. I never stat on my routine. And of course, even hoops, even if it's for an hour, just get some sort of activist. And I don't want to be that guy who just sits, the library the entire day, just no breaks, just sitting my butt on the chair, not at least going outside, taking a walk, because those are crucial. That's it's crucial. It's very, very crucial. It's gonna when your body feels good, you feel good, and you're gonna take that wellness into your academics, and then you do even better than you were last time.
So then, how do you keep that discipline then? Right, because sometimes I know people they start right. Even me myself, I'm guilty of this. I'll go hard, say working out in the gym or just doing physical activity, right? I'll go hard, and I mean for me, physical activity like outside of soccer, right? Because when it comes to physical, mostly it's soccer, right? But outside of that, doing stuff like lifting weights, or going to the gym, hard cardio. Right, I'm a victim to that. I'll do that for a good week, 2 weeks, and after I miss one day, after that, it's all good.
Right? It is. Yeah.
So how do you keep that discipline? How do you keep that streak and momentum going?
I think on myself, like, okay, you can't lose track. Me in my life, I never want to be a lazy guy. I don't want to sit all day and not do anything. I want to. I don't want to be fat. I want to be a fat guy, So, I think, it all comes for passion, working out for so long, I began to build a passion to just working on myself, working on my body, making sure I'm stronger, eating the right things. I even, trying to inspire my brother into doing that. He's here and there too, but I know eventually he'll, get things right. I think it's like, I just discipline with a passion. If you want something, you'll do it. Try to do it on a daily basis. Try to do the best you can. So I think with this experience of, just being in the gym this much, I feel like we're going to just liking to just, lifting, getting PRs, getting good reps in, and if I try and take that more and more and more into school, I think I'll be even better. Even better going to getting better grades. And even on days when you don't want to do it, I feel like that's the days that you want to do it the most, because the days that you don't want to do it and you still do it, and it'll really start getting things going. You really start spiking things up, spiking in growth, and just making sure that that things are gonna get better, because when you know that you don't you still want to do it. It really shows that you really taking a step instead of next growth, and that you're gonna keep doing this for a very long time.
Wow, that's powerful, man. I love that you said that. Right,
Yep.
the days that you don't want to do it is when you really want to do it. Wow.
Yep.
And
That's because that's really important, man. That's
wow,
that's the if you do it if you do it that day, man. Like
you
that's
know you love it.
yep. If you do it that day, that's when you really take that big step. You really
Wow.
think that you really think that you really think that you're gonna be that guy one day, and it's gonna go skyrocket up.
Because if you're passionate about it, it doesn't like even if you don't feel like doing it, you're gonna take care of it. It's not about I want to do it, but I have to do it.
Yep, definitely. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Simple, man. That's what it's all about. Even now, now, just in life, if you want to do something, whatever you want to do, it's gonna be days where you're gonna be like, I'm a little, I don't want to do this, I want to do that, I want that. But if you want to do it that day, it's gonna be a habit. It's gonna be a habit when you don't do things consistently. So it's really key to do it those days.
That's big, man. That's big, and I think anyone who just listened to that, listen to that again. 100% listen. Listen to that again, man, because
For
that
sure, man. For sure, man.
it really it's part of the process. It's really a part of the process. Showing up when you show up when everyone else doesn't want to show up. It's how you really get ahead. It's how you really make a
Yep.
difference. It's how you become the top 1%, right? If you don't follow what everyone else is doing, or say it's outside, right? You want to become a better runner, and everyone goes outside to run for every single day, except for the one day it's snowing. If you're the only person out there when it's snowing and everyone else is still inside, you're doing the right thing, right? You were doing
Yep.
the right thing, and like you said, showing up when even though you really don't want to do it, right? It's like you really don't want to do it, right? And you end up
Yep.
doing it. That's big, right? And obviously that
Mhm.
kind of leads me to wonder, right? So obviously NJIT is difficult, right? It's rigorous. We talked about that. We went over that, right? Not just academically, of course. Socially is different, and as a whole, it's a very difficult experience. What would you say is like the most challenging part of your whole entire experience so far in school, and how did you go about overcoming that?
I would say my time management. Like being on campus, there's like a lot of things that you can do. Like you can easily be that party guy where every day, you go to those midnight parties, you go get drunk, you do this and do that. And those things, man, if you do that like for a good daily, it's gonna be on the fall off. You know, it's always like I saw this thing, social media. It's like three things. It's like being social, work on yourself, and academics. You can't really you gotta be all balanced in both, or just take a little bit out of one and just put the rest in two. And I think that's with me. I definitely want to be more social, and definitely want to be more academics, but I'll spend a little more time and just working on myself. And you gotta really balance those things, because it's very easy to just get distracted and your friends call you, be like, oh, we got an event going on, we got stuff going on. Very easy to fall into that trap and not work on what's actually important, what's going to get you out of the school. That's your academics. So I think this time, if you manage time right, as long as you have a good schedule in your day, you know what to do, you know what time to do it. I think it'll be a lot better than just going off, just straight feelings, straight emotions, and being that guy who only just wants to have fun and just relax, because that's not what the school's about.
Right, and if honestly, if you can't strike that balance, it'll take you out real quick.
I know. And even I was like, even on campus, never was really a big party dude. Just I was wanting to chill. Still connect, of course, but never that guy that's wanted to just being that guy that's like hungover in the morning. On a Saturday morning, just like being knocked out. I was wanting to stay focused, not let outside things put me into a deeper hole. That's hard. That's hard to get out of.
So what you say, like there's times like that balance really challenged you throughout the experience?
Definitely. I think a fall semester I was commuting, so I just kind of did. I kind of had a choice to do things. I had to leave 5 a.m. in the morning,
Wow.
and then go to school at a 8 a.m. class. Sometimes when I would be so early in the morning, I just sit in the building till dining hall opens, and I would eat there, and then leave pretty early, 4 o'clock, and then come back home, eat, do some work, and then get like 4 hours of sleep. That was the daily basis for a bit. Yeah. And then, but things that, of course, training things got better. I had a lot more freedom to do what I wanted to do. And, it's pretty new to me because, I never had that, that much time to myself because, offenses were just so jam packed. So, I definitely took time there to just put time not just into friends, also just more into more study groups, of course, being part of academics. And so, of course, I'm not fun in it. I think I've really improved in that balance. I want to see even better next semester, with our roommates, with, future events, connecting with others, and overall, just in general.
So you said that you started off commuting, right? Up at 5 o'clock every single morning.
5 a.m. Yeah, and then eventually later on it got to like I think about 4 a.m. because you just like I think my mom she had to go work at a certain time, so and to get to your job and to get to my spot, and that's the time that it took.
Wow.
And it was tough, man. Like when you have exams like that, when you have to wake up that early, it's tough. Like there's times that I'd be sleeping like in the library. I'd be just that knocked out, and having to still do that work. It was hard, man. It was hard. I'm a guy that's been through worse, in life. So I don't, I want to just, even with the stuff that I've had been through, all those circumstances, I still want to be able to push through. Because if I can push through all of this, then I can be a much, much, much stronger person in the future.
Wow.
I think these lessons that I've had through, that tough semester, I can bring that to sophomore year. A lot more free time to focus and just lock in. What it means to just higher ceilings that I don't think probably wouldn't think of doing.
That's absolutely phenomenal, man. And
I know.
I want to talk a little bit more about that because even for me, right? You talk about you were getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning for an 8 o'clock class, right?
Every morning.
For my 8 o'clock classes, man, I wake up at like 7:30, 7:45 if I'm feeling a bit more tired for an 8 o'clock class. I'm barely struggling to wake up. I just get up, brush my teeth, I run.
Get up and run.
Exactly. So that kind of first how that's
bro. It's
so you're telling me
you
would get up at 4, and I'm assuming that you have assignments and that stuff as well. You'd be going to bed much more later, like 12 o'clock, 11, 12.
Yeah, bro. That was
how did you push through that? Like, what was that?
Bro,
how? How?
Bro. Sometimes I think to myself, like, how I'll be doing this. It's insane. Like when I when I get to college, bro, I just try to get work as soon and as fast as I can, man, because I know that when I get home, it's gonna take time. Traffic can make things longer. And then I have to eat food and do all this and stuff, man. It's tough, man. I don't know how they'll do this for this long. Getting 5 hours, 6 hours on a daily. Obviously it's not good sleep, but for someone like me, it's not. I'm not like too accustomed to it, and then it's just tough. It's really tough, but I think with just being ambitious, knowing that I can't sit here and complain. I have to push through. I really had no choice. Because I know that eventually when I came on campus, I'm not sober. I got really sick and I had to go back home. It's not so. Those things aren't really I'm not in control of. So I know I'm not in control of this. I just take advantage. I do what I can. I'm trying best, and if I make it out of here, I make it out of here. I just know that I did what I could. I did what I can be in control of, was just get my work done as soon as productive as I can be, even with all the little the 2 hours or 4 hours sleep that I'm getting. Like even like when I was doing those FED models, man, I would be set up all night because every times are like of our, if our teammates, just, can't think so at a certain time, you kind of have to all be there to just, work on that task. And those 6 hours, man, because, matching it into the right side, the right screw, it's it can be needy at times, it can be very niche. And, it's things like that, really push me, to just, try all I can, and when I knock out the day after, it's a good knockout sleep. So I know, I know I did what I could, man.
That's absolutely amazing. Talking about
I know.
things that are out of your control, right? Complaining about things that are out of your control, because obviously, you're commuting, and you mentioned on top of that, you were sick as well. Like that's that's.
I know, bro. Life hit me. Life hit me hard that year, man.
It hit you. That really hit
life. I know, bro.
And I think
the
mentality you were talking about earlier in the episode, right? It really comes to life here. It really comes to that. You can see where that discipline, you can see where that mentality, like, bro, you're a mentality monster.
Yeah.
Well, that's a mentality monster right there, right? And I love that you mentioned, I don't know if you read the book called Extreme Ownership, right? It's by Jocko Willink, right? Very okay. Good book. I got a chance to read it. I finished it about 2-3 weeks ago. I'll probably link it down in the description as well. If you haven't read it, I mean, you're basically the book already. I think you can probably write the book again and it'll be the exact same thing. Cover to cover. But I haven't gotten the chance to read the book. Read it. It's a fantastic book, and it's talking about, that self-accountability that you were just talking about. Essentially, like, nobody cares, work harder, right?
Yep.
And the fact that when things are out of your control, like you said, they're things that they just come up and they happen, You don't control when you get sick. You don't control, like, say, having to commute, right? Right?
Yep.
You don't. Those are things that are out of your control that you can't really make much to change about, right? And at the end of the day, understanding that, and I think what's important is that really, for example, that's helped me a lot, or that can help other people, is that the moment you stop stressing about things that are out of your control, life becomes so stressless.
Oh, yep.
Life becomes so stress free. Like you don't feel stress, because once you start focusing and putting energy on things that you can control and things that you can consistently show up and go through the process, right? Going through the process of improvement and getting better within your own control. Once you understand that's the main thing that you can work with, that's the main thing that is in your hands, that you can put full effort and achieve the results how you want to achieve, life becomes so stress-free, man.
Because I know, that's where I want to get to.
Exactly. Yeah. Because people get so hung up upon, like, oh man, I need to do this, and this, and this, and this. I need to do this, and this, and this for something of chance, right? For example, like getting a job, right, or getting an internship, right? At the end of the day, You can do everything. You can have the perfect GPA. You can have all the experience. You can have internet like Apple for 5 years, right?
Yeah.
You could have been the manager of Microsoft for 33 years. You're 17 years old, right?
Yeah.
You could have done everything possible, right? But at the end of the day, if the decision is not in your if the decision is not in your hands, why would you stress about it, right?
Yeah,
You can't because there's not realistically as much as you can do. You can never guarantee anything that's in the hands of another person, right?
Yep. No. At the end of the day, it's their choice, and it's not yours.
At the end of the day, it's their choice, right? So I'm so glad you brought that up. The fact that things that are out of your control, things that you can't control, things that you can't necessarily you yourself, for example, yourself, right? You can make yourself better at something, right? That's a guarantee. That's a given, 100%. If you show up, you show up, you try, fail, learn from your mistakes, and repeat over and over again. I promise you, anyone can learn anything, right, and gain knowledge in anything, right? That stuff is a guaranteed. What you can end up doing with it, right? Say making projects for yourself or making projects for other people to see. Again, that's a guarantee. You can control it. You work control. You can do and apply the skills like you learn to that kind of stuff. Now, say using that kind of stuff to get something like get into a program, get into a job or something like that, right? No matter how hard you work, does not necessarily dictate it mean that your outcome is guaranteed, right? Hard work is not, unfortunately, as crazy as it is, I have to come to terms with that. I think it's helped me a lot too. Hard work does not necessarily guarantee success.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you gotta work smarter, not harder.
Exactly. Yeah, hard work doesn't guarantee success at the end of the day, right? And you can check out The Psychology of Money, which is another fantastic book. Man, I'm dropping up dimes over here. These are some really good books out there to check out. Right?
This ain't like Chris Paul.
Yeah, I'm dropping down. I feel like CP3 out here, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like as much as hard as you want to work, sometimes as hard as it work, because I'm sure you put in a lot. You put in a lot of work in high school, right? I knew you throughout high school. You were a very hardworking student. You were a very serious student about his studies, right? You know, when challenges come up, you didn't. Your hard work. You didn't ask for them to come up. You didn't make them come up, right? It just happened, right?
It's just featured, right?
Even though you worked hard, but even those challenges, they still come up. They still happened, right?
Yeah.
It just goes to show that, like, but at the day, but what can happen if you stay if you stay resilient through those adversities, that will push through. Say, like, if your hard work doesn't get you to the point you want to get to, your resilience will get you to somewhere good. That can happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Even like I think something like about like the TV. I think Kanye West was something about this, bro. I think it was like even though you reach the sky, like you reach somewhere in the clouds, something like that. At least be somewhere higher than what the average person would be. If you don't by some circumstance don't aim for the highest goal, at least get somewhere that is higher than what the average person, what something that the normal person can be.
Exactly. Wow, that's a good. I've heard something along those lines before. That's a great quote.
Yeah. I'm trying. Yeah. Sure, bro.
That's big. So that kind of leads you like to wonder, right? You talked about commuting. You got sick and all the crazy stuff, challenge that's happened, right? So how did you kind of lift yourself out of that kind of adversity that you went through?
I think first off, I'm a big really, religious guy. I'm Christian, so sometimes I just look to God. When I'm just all things just pop out on top. Asking for help. And I think prayers. If you're whatever religion you're in, it could be anything. If you just just be faithful and truthful. I know that your God, whoever you believe in, is gonna be it's gonna be there for you. That then that things will happen. I think you can't lose hope. I gotta believe that things will get better and then so things will have to get better and going into that of course housing global is a big thing and I think once you know that, once you know that, you keep being resilient. You have a good positive mindset. You don't tend to think too negatively. Start to be better in that aspect, and of course, ask, talking to friends, talking to someone, talking to someone who's probably been through worse, who's probably, who's been through that experience. They give you some advice. And advice could change your whole aspects on not just whatever you're studying, but life in general. Seeing videos online of professional role models or people, even sports players, they've been through their own struggles in their past. So
Right.
if you take it from their aspect, and think of what they've been through. People like players like LeBron. He's been through low salary home. Pretty poor family. You got family, out tough times. A lot of players got their families out of tough times. So you take my aspect that players have been through that rough experience, but still be able to make through the high skies, the high mountains. You take it from that aspect, and you think, okay, maybe this isn't so bad. Maybe I can always push through. Make out this chaos and still make it through my degree in college.
Wow, man, that's amazing. And that's why, remember I said about I don't like using the word impossible. I hate that word.
Yeah.
I don't like using the word. I don't like using the word hate. That word is a very, as much as people can say kind of free will, it's a very powerful word, right? I don't like using that word, but man, I hate the word impossible. It's the I word. For me, that's the I word.
The I word. Yes, that's what the I word. That's what the I word. That's what the I word.
I hate that word so much because just imagine that someone just imagine you and your situation, right, through your challenges, that you thought it's impossible to come back. Just imagine, right? You think oh, it's impossible.
That would be insane to say. That would be insane to say.
It's so insane to say, right? Because as soon as you think it's impossible, you're shutting down the opportunities of possibilities. It's not this is impossible, but rather how can I make it possible?
Yep. That's what I want, man.
And it reminds me actually of something I was reading this last night. Think and Grow Rich. 4 for 4.
Another dime. Another dime.
Right? So it's actually another. I'm gonna list a book as well. Down. Actually, I keep on saying I'm gonna list them. Hopefully, I do list them in the description, right? If I don't, just bug me or something, right? But Think and Grow Rich is a fantastic book. I've been having the pleasure of reading so far. I was actually reading this up last night as I tried to fall asleep, and one of the chapters I was reading was talking about desire, right? How desire is the foundation of, for example, change, right? Especially you want to change your challenges, change your adversity. Desire is that first step in that, right?
Yeah.
And in the book, right, the author's son, when he was born without any ears. When the author, right, his son, was born.
Yeah.
His son was born without any ears.
What?
No ears. Just imagine. You can't. It was told. The doctors told the author, right? Well, I'm just gonna say the father and son, right? The author told the father that he will never be able to hear, never, in his life. But
bro, wow, I can never even think of that.
No ears,
Oh, ears, bro.
But even though the doctor said that he couldn't hear, the father, he refused to accept that impossible for him to hear. He refused to accept it. He said, my son will hear. He didn't say it's impossible for my son to hear and just gave up. He said, my son will hear. Going back to desire. He knew he wanted his son to hear. He didn't let the impossibility of that, because he has no ears, it means he couldn't hear. Right?
Yeah.
So slowly over time, right, they discover that the son actually does have ability to hear a bit, even without any ears. With his ears not having any ears, his son does have the ability to hear a little bit over time, right? So they treated him like a regular person. They didn't treat him like he was like he couldn't hear. They didn't treat him like it was impossible for him to ever hear. They treated him like a regular person, right? They worked on things like lip enunciation, making sure they can see the lips and that kind of stuff to help him understand language that's going on and being spoken, right?
Yeah.
Allow him to not be mute, right? So if you're deaf or it's hard to hear, you're going to have trouble speaking. So over time, that belief, the son, he ended up like improving his hearing, because he actually did have some methods to hear. Actually, he actually was able to hear certain sounds. So he ended up going to college. He graduated college from 4 years. I think it was the University of Chicago. I think if I'm remembering correctly, right? And then after he graduated, there was this one company that created new hearing aids, right? And he gave it to his son. His son could hear perfectly. His son could hear perfectly.
But but if he had no ears, where that be placed?
I'm not too sure. I was reading, I was thinking the same thing, right? But, maybe there's. I'm not too sure, honestly, but I'm just going along with what I was reading last night, the story, right?
Yeah.
So he was able to hear, right? And now, and what his son did, he became an ambassador for the hearing aid brand, right? And he started teaching classes to other people that were hard of hearing and deaf. He started teaching classes to how to actually speak, right? Now he's making an impact on their lives, right? Just imagine the doctor said he couldn't hear ever in his life.
The doctor said
how to speak. That's why I hate the I word. That's why I hate that word.
Yep. Right? Nothing's impossible in life. Nothing
is impossible.
Nothing.
And just like you showed, right? No matter what challenges come up, no matter what challenges come up, you can always push through it, right? Cause I can imagine, you're an engineering major, right? Mechanical engineering, right?
Yeah.
You're telling me you're getting up at 4:00 in the morning, you're not feeling well, and on top of that, you have to worry about calculus and physics the next day.
Man, I can only imagine, bro. Man, you
lived it. You lived it.
I know. It was a time, man. It was a freaking time, bro. And I can never even have any fun social things when I was commuting, throughout the day. As soon as I left classes, library, straight up. Nothing, no hangouts, nothing, because I only had a couple 3 hours time in before I had to leave and go back, and go back to my house. So there's barely any social contact that I could make, because I couldn't. It was either that or I go back home, I do my work for until 1-2 a.m. and then wait, and I have 2 hours of sleep. That was it was those two choices.
Wow.
It was crazy times. Crazy times.
So did you end up did you commute the whole entire semester, or did you end up?
Yeah, basically, because when I got sick, I think I had tests, but I had to go back. So it's but I had to go back for the entire rest of the semester. So from November till basically December 17th, 15th. So yeah, it is. And then thankfully things were resolved. 6 semester was completely free, and I have no health issues, nothing. And even to this day, man. So I hope nothing happens in the fall. I want a good, healthy, full year, man, because that would be great. That'd be awesome.
And I'm sure it will. So I can imagine your spring semester, kind of coming back from that, you were ready to go.
I know, man. Yeah, and it was I felt so free. There's nothing holding back. It's
you were doing spring semester. Is that right?
Yeah. I was I was on campus. Yeah, on campus. Yeah. So I had it was so much free time. I was I'm kind of overwhelmed, because I'm not restricted, but there's no family saying, "Oh, go to sleep," you know what I mean? It's ain't nothing like that, man. So it was a lot of time, and of course the time to lock in, get myself situated, but also finally it gets time to do stuff with friends, because that's what it's also about.
Yeah, man. And that's a beautiful way to tie up what we've been talking about, right? Going from how to be strong, mentally disciplined, and then how you can transition that, the challenge that you went through, challenges that you faced, and how you overcame them and became the better person. You came up on top, right?
Yeah, I know.
I find that amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Yep. That to kind of just close this thing off, right? if there's one thing, right, just like a culmination that you would say for anyone that's listening to this right now, if there's one thing you say like that they can't leave without taking away from this, right? Say if they're about to watch like this, like they just randomly clicked and they end up at the minute mark of like 1 minute 45 seconds, right? So randomly. What is
Hey,
what is that
yeah.
thing that they should take away from your story, from your journey?
I think never give up, man. Like, it sounds simple, but just like never give up. Cause there was times where there's like work just stacked on top, and then in those times during fall semester, where I basically had no time to do much. I say just never give up and always have hope. Always have hope. Always have faith. Never lose hope and always believe, because there's gonna be a time where you're gonna have the best season of your life. There's all those times where you go through these hard times and failures. It's to build you into that person that you'll become in the future, that you're destined to be. And you got to go through these hard times. You have to. It's these hard times are gonna build you up. It's like if there's no challenge, there's nothing. It's nothing. It's like if you don't go through anything to get to that path, it's not gonna happen, because you're not gonna go through what's required. You're gonna have to do the hard skills, the hard tasks, the obstacles. It's not gonna happen, because you're not mentally built, physically built for that dreaming job you're going for, or that dream sport you're going for. It's not gonna happen. So the main thing, just always keep hope, always keep faith, believe in yourself, and never lose hope, never give up, because that's what's really gonna bring you to the highest of peaks in your life.
Absolutely amazing, Sebastian. Like, this episode right here, like, absolutely fantastic, right? And we
Yes, sir.
Like, I'm such a lucky guy, right? Not even lucky. Like, we get to have such amazing guests. Like, we have Derek. Derek. We went to state school. We're all good friends. We're all robotics together, right?
Yeah.
You know how amazing Derek is. Now I get to have you as well. And
great guy.
Absolutely amazing stuff. Like, absolutely fantastic. This can be written into a book, right? Like, I'm not even laughing. I'm being dead serious right now.
The book of Seven Mamadou, man.
I'm Seven, bro. It's taking me out of it. This is you, man. This is all your story. This is your journey. It's very inspiring. Show that never give up. Adversity is just a phase, right? It's always like at the end of the tunnel. All those same, well, quote unquote cliche phrases that we always hear. Always the ones that are the most true. Always.
Yep. Every time.
Right.
Every time.
And I really appreciate taking the time to come onto the show and share your story with the audience.
Yeah, I'm grateful that I was picked this early. I was a second time.
I had to keep the ball going. I keep the ball going. Right. So
I'm very happy.
Exactly. Yep. So again, I appreciate you taking the time to come on today. I hope you guys listening right now. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. That is absolutely fantastic. Mentality monsters, a lot of discipline, a lot of mindset, right? That are tacked into it. A great addition to what we had last week with Derek. We're adding on to more to that right now with Sebastian. So go ahead, if you enjoyed it, make sure y'all like, make sure y'all subscribe. You know exactly what to do. And I can't wait to catch y'all next week for the next episode. Sebastian, thank you again. Mamadou signing off. You just listened to the Engineer Difference Show. Hope y'all have a great day.